Good morning, Coach.
Good
Hey, good
morning.
morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Beto.
Oh, she's not here this morning.
Oh,
she has an errand. She has some things she has to do this morning. So don't put anything in the chat. Put
exactly.
put in the chat. The chat is not being currently read. So if you have a question, speak up. Raise your hand. Speak up. Speak up. Speak up. And I'll definitely answer, but I'm not monitoring that because I'm up here on the board. So if you guys want to put that in the chat, that's cool. That way anybody who comes in will know that if they have a question, they just kind of have to ask or raise their hand so I can call on them, whatever they want, but because I won't be looking at the chat from here.
Today is a chat-free session.
Today's a chat free.
It's a use your voice session.
That's it. Speak up. Speak up. Like Bernie Mac said back in the day, yell, scream, something. Speak up.
100%.
Yes. Yes. Hey, well, we'll get started. It's 7 o'clock. We'll definitely get started. So, good morning. Good morning. Welcome everyone to another Mindset Saturday. Grateful and glad and appreciative to have you all. Thank you for coming. It's always an honor and pleasure for us to come together and reason, to learn, to grow, to experience, to express. So thank you all. We're going to have a wonderful day today, learning and remembering. Most importantly, remembering and reminding. That's really what we're doing the most of, is remembering and reminding. So we're going to do that again today. We're going to keep it moving and keep it going. All right, before we get started, sometimes I like to switch it up. Before we get started, does anybody have anything they'd like to say or ask before we get going? Sometimes I just like to switch it up, do a little something different. Nope. Okay. Well, here we go. So today's title, like I say, I try to make it as vague and ambiguous as possible. Right? Today's title. Probably. Can everyone see that?
Tuesday.
Now, most of you have known me long enough to realize things are really never straightforward on purpose, because we're here to exercise the mind and really think, right? If mindset is everything, then we have to develop some strength, some power, and things like that. So when I say, what is this? Tuesday. What is Tuesday?
Day of the week.
Okay. Day of the week.
A moment in time.
Okay. Moment in time. All those are correct. And they're all going to be used in the answer. Say it again. Oh, I thought I heard something. Okay.
I think it was a sneeze. Bless you.
Okay. Day of the week, moment in time.
A marker, an identifier.
A marker, an identifier. Okay. Anyone else?
A day more warmly received than Monday.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to get into. Depends. What if you had won the lottery?
Well,
Right?
that's an unknown. I know after Sunday the work week begin, and if I just had another day, Tuesday is more warmly received.
There you go. Okay. So, you know what Tuesday is? Tuesday. Tuesday is enough. Tuesday represents every day of the week, right? Tuesday is enough. Like, think about what enough actually, like what it means. Tuesday is enough. What does, when I say Tuesday is enough, Tuesday is every day of the week, Monday, Saturday, doesn't matter. Tuesday is enough. What does that mean?
That just by your experiencing it or existing in it, you can't add more days into it. So it's enough to do what you need to do, receive what you need to receive, experience, so forth and so on.
That is absolutely correct. So if Tuesday represents every day, right? Monday, Tuesday, they're all the same hours in a day, 24 hours in a day, same hours. It's enough. That means every day is enough to literally do what you just said, everything or anything. People can die on a Tuesday. They can be born on a Tuesday. People can become rich on a Tuesday. People can lose it all on a Tuesday. People can be diagnosed with cancer on a Tuesday. People can be told they're in remission on a Tuesday. People can start a business on a Tuesday. People can lose a business on a Tuesday. Anything that could possibly happen to you, whether you want to call it good or bad, one day is enough. Pick any day you want, it's enough. One day is enough. It has everything in it, just like she said, it has everything in it necessary. It's no different than any of the other 6 days. The other 6 days are no different than it. It's enough. Yet, how many days do we let go by waiting for another one or a different one? What is the other one going to be that today can't be? It doesn't have any more hours. We're not talking about a regular 9 to 5. Like, of course, you're not going to go on Saturday if you work Monday through Friday. I'm talking about on a higher level, just mentally understanding what is Saturday that Tuesday can't be? What is Thursday that Monday can't be? Because no matter what it is to you, it isn't that to someone else. No matter what it isn't to you, it is to someone else. It is your day on, their day off. It is your last day of the week. It's their first day of the week. It is your birthday. It's not their birthday. It doesn't matter what day you pick. It's enough. It has everything in it for you to ever do or be whatever you can imagine yourself doing or being. There is no day greater or day lesser. There's no more or greater, lesser or less than the other. They all require your presence, and they all provide an opportunity. What we do with them based on our own individual identities and choices is how we define its ability, but that doesn't make it true. the highest heights and the lowest lows, so to speak, can be achieved on the same day. And they are every day. Somebody gets great news on a Tuesday and horrible news on a Tuesday. So anything and everything that can be done in a day can be done every day. It's enough. Can somebody finish this sentence? This is the day who can finish that sentence?
That the Lord has made is what my body kind of automatically said from back in the day when I was in church and in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
As
Right?
a child.
So, okay. So finish the whole thing. This is the day
That the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Okay. Now, let's think about that. This is the day. Let's just say it's Tuesday. This is the day that the Lord has made. So, in that book, it says, God is Lord. God is the Lord. The Lord is God. They're the same thing. So this is the day, and God's name is I Am in that book. So this is the day that I Am has made. I Am is first person present tense. That's you. This is the day that I have made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. So what did I make this day for? What did I Am make this day for? What did God make this day for? What did the Lord make this day for? They're all the same. What is this day made for? What is Tuesday made for?
Rejoicing.
I'm sorry?
Rejoicing. Being grateful.
Okay, what does it say? What did you just say? What is it for? You said this is the day.
That the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
So what is the day made for?
For us to rejoice and be glad in it.
How many of us do that? How many
I
of
don't
us,
do it every day.
but every day you wake up, this is the day. Right? This is the day. Every day is the same day in the sense of potential and opportunity. And every day you wake up, you have the potential and opportunity to do that because you made the day to do that. We understand that everything is created for something. A knife is created for something. A TV is created for something. A car is created for something. Everything is created for something. So we created today, Tuesday. We created Saturday. We created Sunday. To do what? Let's say it again. To do what?
Rejoice and be glad in it.
Mm.
Are we doing that?
Some days.
So at the beginning, does it say someday or some days?
No, we're disobedient.
Well, we're just not perspicacious. We're not aware. We're not paying attention to detail. We are ad-libbing, improvising. We are rounding up and rounding off. This is the day. Someday, is there 8 days in a week? Am I missing a day? Is there a new day called someday? The chat's not going to save you today. You have to Bernie Mac it today. You have to talk today. Is there a new day called someday?
No.
No.
So why do we keep trying to use a day that does not exist and wonder why we don't get what we want?
What's that word you used in place of disobedient?
Perspicacious.
Spell it for me, please.
P-E-R, P-E-R-S, P-E-P-I-C-A-C-E-O-U-S.
Thank you.
And essentially, it essentially means a heightened level of awareness, that you catch things, that you pay attention to the devil in the details. You have a heightened level of awareness. And a lot of times we are rounding up and rounding off, and we're letting days that are enough go by, waiting for another one that has no greater or no lesser potential, but we're letting them go by.
Procrastination.
Lack of understanding.
Fear.
Lack of understanding.
Yes.
Anytime you understand anything, you're not afraid of it anymore.
I get
You may
what
not
you're
like
saying.
it.
I get what you're saying, Coach Lucky. You basically saying if we were aware of the potential and the power and the ability, then we would immediately, it would become night and day.
Then this is the day you would rejoice and be glad in.
Right.
And I don't mean grateful. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. Let's be clear. I do not mean grateful. I mean, you created this day to rejoice and be glad in. It means you created this day to have experiences that make you rejoice and are glad. You created this day to win. What day would you create to fail when you are a winner by nature, by birth? If quote unquote God were to lose, who would it lose to? Who could it lose to? Who else is there? So if you are by nature a winner. You have the opportunity to lose. It's like if you were playing your little cousin or your little nephew one-on-one in basketball, or you were playing somebody who just could not physically beat you and you just took it easy and let them win to feel better. So that they can be like, yeah, I beat my dad, I beat my mom, I beat my aunt, I beat my grandma in chess, I beat her in checkers. And you're sitting there back in my mind like, child, please. Child, right? Child, please. But they're telling the whole neighborhood. Right? But you didn't have to lose, you allowed it. But you allowed it because you knew you could. Because you knew allowing them to win didn't lower you or lessen you. You knew who you were. You just let something happen that you could because you knew you had the power to. You knew who you were. You know who you are. And this world is just like that. We are natural born, birthright, identity, true identity winners. We have the ability to lose. We can take some losses, but we don't have to, but we can. But because we don't know that's who we truly are in the world, we think losses are inevitable. They're just a fact of life. But you wouldn't say that was true to the person you let win. You know you made that conscious effort to let them win for whatever reason. But you knew it was okay because that really wasn't a reflection of who you are. That was just something you allowed. When it was said earlier, mindset is everything. This is the understanding that we have to remember and remind ourselves of. That everything that is created, we create. And only in our ignorance do we create something and forget how to use it. Only in our amnesia do we do that. And when we come back to our righteous mind, like the prodigal son coming back home after he YOLO'd himself into sleeping with the pigs, after he spent up all his inheritance and he came back to his father, the king, in his right mind, he said, whoa, my father's servants are living better than I am. I can at least go back home and I can at least be one of those. And as soon as he came to his right mind and started walking, his father saw him from a distance and went off and met him. That metaphorically is essentially our awakening from amnesia, remembering who we are and coming back to our right mind. That's what righteousness means. It means right thinking. It means you are assuming yourself to be who you truly are. That's why it's always juxtaposed in the book to sin. Sin means a mistake, an error. All errors physically are first thought errors. They're first mental errors. Sin is just an error in thought. It's mistaken thought that is expressed physically. Righteousness is proper thought that is expressed physically. At the beginning, they're both thoughts. The first thing he said in that book was, let me separate myself, my things from my father's things. First mistake. But that first mistake was thought. That's where he sinned. And his sin, the ending consequence was him sleeping in the pig pen. After he spent all his money and walked out of his father's house, took his little appropriation of inheritance, went out there, spent it all up, and ended up homeless, sleeping in the pig pen with the pigs. That physical outcome, if you rewind it, was first thought. So when we come here on Saturdays, we're not here to, like I always say, it's not positive thinking. It's thinking positively, meaning learning how to think correctly in and for your favor and highest and best good. That's the differentiation. It's not positive thinking in the sense of I am trying to think the best way I can about my life that is no good. Your life is no good because you're not thinking properly. And there is no right way to think about thinking improperly. You have to change what you think or how you're thinking. That is thinking positively. That is thinking correctly for you, not against you. Tuesday is enough. Every day is made for us to rejoice and be glad in. Not grateful. Yes, you can express gratitude, but that's different. This day you made to win, to express winning, to express your joy, to be glad in what you are doing, whether it's by yourself or who you're doing it with or whatever it is you're doing. You've made this day for that, for your joy, for your gladness. And I want you, me, us, we to start waking up every morning with that expectation. This is the day that I have made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. I will do that. That is going to happen today. And with that thought, you will experience the physical reflections of that. Your expectation is going to guide you into physical things that reflect your expectation. According to your faith, be it unto you. According to your expectation, so goes your experiences, your expressions. Your mind is your experience. This is where life is. Your body is the expression of that experience. The thought the prodigal son had was his experience. And the expression of that experience was the pig pen. It's the outcome, Alpha and Omega, beginning, end, first, last, author, finisher of your faith. You are the bookend. You are the dawn and the dusk, sunrise and the sunset. That's who you are. And so I want all of us to wake up with the expectation of, this is the day that I made. I made this day for me to win, for me to rejoice and be glad in. And if I wake up daily with that expectation, and every day is enough, I can choose and change my life. By choosing and changing my thought, by choosing and changing what I am thinking, what I am believing, what I am assuming. Because we are always thinking, believing, feeling, assume ahead of our evidence, ahead of our physical manifestation. Thought is the only power that brings the unseen into the seen. It's the only power. Can't get a tow truck to do it. Can't get a weightlifter to do it. You can't do it like that. What is that? Tug of war. You can't pull it. Thought is the only mechanism that brings the unseen into the seen. Bringing something from the unseen into the seen is called what?
Is it manifestation, what you mentioned earlier?
Say it again.
Is it manifestation? The thought
Correct.
is the only power to bring?
Correct. When people talk about manifesting, all you are doing, if you are manifesting, all you are doing is bringing the unseen into the seen. But the unseen that you bring into the seen, the unseen already exists. That's why in the book it says creation is finished. There is nothing you could ever want to be, to do, or to have that does not already exist. It just does not exist to you. What we are saying when we say something does not exist to us, we are essentially saying that we cannot perceive it through our physical five senses. There is nothing that you could ever want to be, to do, or to have that does not already exist. So all of us right now, I'm assuming we're at home or in the car, but I'm assuming no one is in the grocery store currently. Whenever you decide to go, let's just say that whatever you decide to go, let's say that whatever you wanted when you went was always there. Let's just say it was a heavenly grocery store, let's say, meaning nothing ever ran out. The point of that is, whenever you decide to go to the grocery store is not when the thing was made. You did not go to the grocery store to make it. You went to the grocery store because it was already made. So you went there to pick it, to choose it, to select it, to become a part of your physical experience. But before you go to the grocery store, it still exists. It's still available now. It's just not a part of your physical world or your physical five senses, so you don't perceive it. But that does not mean it does not exist. But it does not exist to you until you first decide to experience it. We are not creating anything. Creation is finished. This world is a big Costco. My mom's favorite place. Shout out to moms in Costco. I've been indoctrinated. I sometimes go and just walk around. Just walk around. See what they got. Right? But it's a big Costco in that sense. It's the biggest grocery store, biggest place you can buy anything. This world, everything that we ever want to do or be or have, we are using this planet to do it. To build, to create, to invent, to destroy, to recycle, to whatever else it is. Everything already exists here. But it does not exist to our physical senses, our five senses, until we decide that we want it to. Whether that is, doesn't matter what it is. Physical, non-physical being something like wisdom or being like peace, or those things are not physical. They express themselves physically. They show up physically, but they are first states of mind. Or the physical, money, things like that. But those are first states of mind. The process, no matter what it is you are trying to experience first and express second, are its thought, outcome. Tuesday is enough. Today is enough for you to get on the road of where and what and who and how you want to be. It's enough. Today is enough for you to rejoice and be glad in. It's enough. It's not insufficient. It is strong enough and long enough for you to have or do anything you choose. Now, your physical destination, the arriving at it, may not be immediate, but you can change your direction immediately. Where you arrive may not be immediate, but if you're going the wrong way, you can change your direction immediately. You can turn around in your mind today. Today is enough to make a different choice, to make different choices. We were talking a little bit earlier about, well, it was mentioned a little bit earlier about limiting beliefs and beliefs, things like that. Limiting beliefs are a result of your environment, you and your environment. The beliefs you hold are a reflection of your own beliefs and the environment in which you are most constantly present. You change your own thought, or you get an environment where different thoughts are thought, where people think differently, your beliefs will change. That's why people talk about mentors. That's what teachers do. That's what parents do. That's what anyone with more wisdom than the person they're teaching does. They give them a different pattern or set of thoughts or ideas. That's the only difference between a mentor and you, a teacher and you, a parent and you, is in their maturity, assuming all things being equal, in their maturity, in their wisdom, in their experience, they know better. They know better. The beliefs you, me, we, us have are a byproduct of the ones we have internalized, whether they have been self-pursued, self-conceived, or, and predominantly and originally, the byproduct of our environment. The collection of thoughts and beliefs and feelings that are prevalent in our environment. First and foremost, our parents, our household, our neighborhood, our schools, especially the younger we were. Our beliefs are conditioned. What we think is true or possible, attainable, achievable, are conditioned by our original, especially our original and immediate environments, our first ones especially, because we were not in a level of consciousness to deny and say that's not true. Look at every young kid before you stop them. They're Superman, and if you don't get to that roof quick, they're jumping off of it after Cartoon Saturday. They're Aquaman, never even seen a pool, and as soon as they find it, they're Aquaman all of a sudden. They just jump in there. They have their own, they're just out there. And then we say no, or we say that's not safe, and wisely so. But the point is, what they believe to be possible becomes conditioned. And most of the time, incorrectly. Most of the time. Not intentionally, but a lot of the times incorrectly. And so we are here spending our Saturday not only remembering and reminding, learning, but having to unlearn. We're having to unlearn a lot of things about a lot of different areas and aspects of life. Now, most of you have been here long enough to know my take on limiting beliefs. And for those of you who have not been here as long, my perspective on limiting beliefs are there is no such thing as a limiting belief. It just may be a belief that has a limit, meaning you want to be something that requires a greater belief than the one you currently hold. There is no limiting state of mind. That state of mind is, there's no limiting shoe size. There's no limiting belief. There's no limiting state of mind. It just may be too small for you to express yourself. But to someone else, it's too big. That shoe that you've outgrown, somebody else, it's too big. It's not the size itself. It's the expression in relation to the size. And the thought you hold may be too small for the expression you desire. All beliefs are the same. They're not really good or bad, really. They just have outcomes we call good or bad. So to be more self-aware, that will allow us, when we are more self-aware, that will allow us to pick the belief that properly correlates to our desired outcome, that has enough room for growth. Just like when we pick shoes, we pick the right size. When we pick clothes, we pick the right size. When we pick a neighborhood, that's a size. It's an experience. It's a place that we are going to dwell. And if it is too small or too restrictive, we feel that. It's all the same. So one of the first things I want us to understand is that Tuesday is enough. Tuesday is every or any day of the week. It's enough. It's enough for you to change your world, choose your world. It's enough. And it is the day for you to rejoice and be glad in. Every day you wake up is a day that you made. You made it. You made that cake to do what? Just sit there on the counter and look nice? You made that bouquet of flowers to just make it and what, throw it out? You don't decide to look at them. You don't decide to smell them. You don't decide to taste the cake. You make something so that you can express yourself with it, have a relationship with it. You made it for something. Well, this day you made, Tuesday, today, Saturday, any day that you wake up, you woke yourself up and you made this day to rejoice and be glad in it. For your physical experiences to be a reflection of your rejoicing and gladness. You didn't make it to be grateful. You can be grateful in it and with it, but that's not why you made it. Did anybody make a cake to be grateful? No, you make a cake to eat it. You may express your gratefulness or your gratitude to someone else with it, but you made it to be consumed, not just sat up in a shelf somewhere. You bought flowers for someone, or you cooked food, or you did for there to be an experience, an interaction with this thing. You made today to win. You made today to live in a way that you are rejoicing and glad that you made it. They'd be like, man, I'm sure glad I made this thing. That's the glad. Not gratitude, that's the glad. Like, whoo, man, I'm glad I did this thing. I'm glad I got to do all the things I did today. That is your rejoicing. You made this day to win. You didn't make this day to suffer. You didn't make this day to be in sorrow. You didn't make this day to be sick. You didn't make this day to be upset. You didn't make, now those are all options, just like letting your niece, your nephew, your son, daughter win in chess. They're options, but you can do that because of who you really are. You know whether you're sick or not, you know who you really are. So you're not going to stop yourself from doing that because you know at the end of the day, you're still you. You can have a different experience, but you can only have that experience because you're allowing it to happen. That's why it says in the book, no man takes my life from me. That's what the character Jesus said in that book. No man takes my life from me. I have the power to lay it down and take it up again. That is the power my Father has given me. My consciousness, my awareness of being has given me the power so that nothing can be taken from me without my will or my say so. Nothing and no one can take anything from you without your will or say so. People think that and assume that is physical. The expression of it being taken or you taking it or not allowing it to be taken is physical. But the power, the understanding is first always here. Today is enough. It's enough for you to rejoice and be glad, and that's what you should be doing every day. Not in gratitude, oh, I'm so grateful that, yeah, that's good, wonderful, that's cool, but you watch sports on television, you watch people who are going to court, nobody's grateful to just, no, they're there to win. You are here to win. You are here to experience all the best for yourself. That is your rejoicing and your gladness. You made this day to rejoice and be glad in it. Wake up with that expectation of that's what I'm doing today. I am here to win and I am going to win today, period, point blank. That is a mental decision first. Whatever you experience here will be expressed here. Your body is nothing but a filter for expression. All poor thoughts result in disease, dis-ease. All mental dis-ease creates physical disease. You cannot have a physical disease without first having a mental dis-ease. You cannot be physically uncomfortable before you are mentally uncomfortable. Period. No other way around it. Now, most often, we don't realize we are mentally uncomfortable until we become physically uncomfortable. But it doesn't mean because we felt the physical first that it actually happened first. It didn't. It doesn't. It can't. That's not the order of operations, just like math. It can't. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. See, Mom, I was paying attention in school. Got your money's worth. That's it. Don't ask me any other questions. That's it. Right? Does anybody have any questions about what I've said so far? Questions, comments, anything like that?
You took my breath away when you said creation is done. Everything that we need is already here. You know, everything that we can consider, think of, identify with is already here. I never even had that thought.
In the first chapter of Genesis, what did it say? Creation is finished. Right? It's finished. Everything is already here, everybody. It's already here. We just don't see it. And we only see according to who we are. And who we are is according to the collection of thoughts, beliefs, feelings. The collection of those make assumptions. Those assumptions are like our reticular activation system, meaning we're only going to focus on the things that are relevant to us. We're only going to see the things that have meaning to us. Otherwise, it's too much information. It's information overload. So that part of our brain, that reticular activation system, allows us to filter out all non-relevant things, though they still all exist. Do you know how many cars you pass by in a day? How many people you pass by in a day? How many thoughts you have in a day? What do they say? It's somewhere between 70 and 80,000 thoughts a day. If you thought of if you entertained every one of them, you would probably literally go insane. So there's a part of our brain that filters out all non-relevant activity. Yet all activity is available for our experience. What is not relevant to us is relevant to someone else. That red car, not relative to me. I'm not really a red car person, but I know a couple people who have a red car. So it's not that it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist for me or to me, but it's all there. And so for us to get our desire is simply something that already exists, that is not present, that we don't see present through our five senses. And the only way we will ever see it is if we change our thought. We now put a different thought for our reticular activation system to start filtering by that. Almost like when you do an Excel spreadsheet and you filter by something, or in your email, you filter by from or to or date. It's not, all the emails are there. You can only filter things that exist. So that part of your brain, that part of the computer system or the program filters all things that exist. If you have a blank Excel spreadsheet, if you have a brand new email, you can't filter anything. There's no emails to filter. Everything already exists, yet we only see according to our lens or through our lenses, through our persona, through who we believe ourselves to be, which is the combination of thought, feeling, and beliefs, which create beliefs. When you think something long enough, you feel it. And when you feel it long enough, that thought long enough, it becomes a belief. It does not have to be true. It can just be true for you. But it becomes a belief. And once it becomes a belief, once it hits that part of your subconscious, once that hits your subconscious mind, now it's coming. Maybe a minute, maybe a day, maybe, but it's coming. Because you're now saying filter by. So it's going to bring to you all the things that you were filtering through your belief system. That's why in the book it says, according to your faith, be it unto you, according to your belief. To your assumption, faith is the ability to believe something that you cannot, through your five senses, prove. Yet we literally do it all the time. We believe things we can't see, taste, touch, feel. We anticipate all the time. But we have just been conditioned to anticipate certain things and think the other things are fake. This is just real, but this is religion. This is fact, but this is faith. Yet all of those things are the same thing. They're just, one is before you see it, one is after you see it. But the things we see are because we believed them before we saw them. That's why we went over that last week in the book where it said the earth was dark and empty. And that power said, let there be. Not because there was something wrong with dark and empty, but it knew the reason it was dark and empty was because it didn't say anything different. And until or unless you do, there will be darkness and emptiness. There will be void. There will be without in your life until you realize that you are the power in your life to say, let there be. It is not dark and empty because you are crazy, because you're Black, because you're a woman, because you're poor, because you're rich, because you live in California, because you're a Democrat or Republican. It is dark and empty because you are the God of your life and there is no other. Of your life, not of someone else's, of yours. You are the God of your world, not of the world. All of us collectively are that, but we are only individually in control and responsible for our lives. And any area of darkness or void is simply because you have not said, let there be. And you are the only person to say it. There is no one else to say it but you. You are the only person that has to say and be convinced that what you say is so. You shall declare and decree a thing, and it will come to pass. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who eat it and those who love it will eat the fruit thereof. You're only saying what you're thinking. Out of the abundance of the heart, of the subconscious mind, those are the same thing. Your subconscious mind, your heart, those are the same thing when it's talking metaphysically and mentally. That's what it's talking about. Out of the abundance of your subconscious mind, when you have a thought long enough that drips all the way down until it gets into your subconscious mind, till it becomes the part of your fabric, when you have a stain on your shirt that you let on there, that you let sit on there long enough, it becomes a part of the fabric. And the stronger the stain, the stronger the thing that dropped, the stronger your thought is, the more attached to that fabric, to your body, to your persona, it becomes. And so it is going to be a part of that fabric. It's going to go wherever you go. It becomes a part of you. It is not you. It is not the shirt, the blouse, or the suit, but it's in there so deep you can't hardly separate it. You can't tell one from the other. That is why we have these calls. That is why we must understand this is a lifestyle. This is not a sermon. This is not a service. This is not a seminar. This is not a positive thinking and do 10 jumping jacks, sweat, give a couple dollars and move on. This is not that. This is a lifestyle. Why? Because you're living a lifestyle anyway. You're going to go away from this call and live. The question then is, how? How are you going to do that? With what? With what set of thoughts? What set of beliefs? What set of feelings? That is what you are living with and living on. And that is what is creating your experience. That is what you're pulling from the unseen into the seen. Every day, every minute, every moment. Everything is here. You're not creating anything. We looked on it months ago. Invention, Latin word, invenio, meaning to stumble upon. It does not mean to create. It's like being in the darkness of your mind, and all of a sudden you trip over something, you say, aha, I didn't know this was here. Just because you didn't know it was there doesn't mean it wasn't there. You just didn't know it. But once you stumble upon it, that's what the word invention means, to stumble upon, not create. And one of our biggest challenges when we are pulling the unseen into the seen is because we feel that we have to create the unseen. We feel we're trying to make something be or make it happen. That's not what we're doing. We don't have the ability to do that in that sense. Everything is already created. What we have the ability to do is choose. You can't go in Costco or the grocery store, set up your own stand and start making lemonade in it. They're not going to allow you to do that. They'll be like, man, we already have everything here. Who are you? Creation is finished. You go to Costco or the grocery store to pick that which already exists. But before you walk in that store, you can't prove it exists. You can't prove there's any left on that shelf. You cannot prove it before you walk in that store. If Justin and I were walking, got out of the car, we were going to the store, and I said, Justin, I bet you $500 there's no more Kraft mayonnaise. Now, Justin says, yes, there is. I'm like, I bet you $500 you can't prove it right now from where you stand in this parking lot. Now, Justin's like, man, should I take that bet? I think there is, but if I really have to put my life on it, I can't prove it. But yet, he's going to the grocery store just like me and can't even prove that what he's going to get actually is available. Yet, the only reason he's going is because there isn't any doubt in his mind that it is. So faith isn't always because you know. A lot of the times, it's just because there's nothing in your mind that doubts. There's nothing in you that says, well, just the absence of doubt is good enough. If you can just get to a place in your mind where you can just get to neutral, you don't have to be heavenly high. Just don't be hell low. If you just don't take from yourself, you can succeed. If you just don't talk yourself out of it, you can succeed. If you just don't convince yourself that the two ideas you have that it won't work are stronger than 100 ideas that do work. If you just don't talk yourself out of it. But every day we make choices based on assumption, on the invisible that we can't even prove. But when we try to do the same thing to change our lives, boy, we need a thesis, a dissertation, we need footnotes, a bibliography, we need credit report, blood samples, DNA testing. We need everything in order to believe that that desire in our heart is possible, real, available, and true. Yet we're going to trust that there's some mayonnaise on the shelf, knowing how lazy humanity is in general. Won't get it there on time. Even if it's there, the stock people didn't stock it because they need a break, and it's the union. They need a break. Just knowing the frailty and the insanity of humanity, we will literally put our lives on the line or use our time to go somewhere. And yet, for people we don't know, with jobs that we're not performing, all in the assumption that something is so. But we literally, factually, in the 5 sense realm, cannot prove it from where we are. But there's no doubt in our mind that it's there. Why? Because it's the grocery store. And what we are talking about here is internally inside of you, your kingdom of heaven that's inside of you, that place where everything is, where everything was created, and where everything exists. That's your grocery store. And all of your desires are just items on the shelf of your mind that one day you wake up and decide to try. One day you wake up and decide to pick. That's all. That's all it is. We wouldn't go if the stuff didn't exist. We wouldn't go there if we had to make it on our own. Those desires wouldn't come up if they didn't exist. The desires wouldn't come up if you were just on your own.
Coach Lucky, I want to ask a question. Earlier, you mentioned sin is error in thought expressed physically, and righteousness is something, I didn't catch that word, in thought expressed physically.
So fear and righteousness are both thought. They're both thought. Fear is a thought of something not being. not being what you want, not being what you want. Fear is just the opposite of faith. Faith is the thought that you are what you want, you have what you want, you do what you want. You're thinking you are, it is the assumption that something is the way you want it to be. Fear is the assumption that it's not. So righteousness means I am thinking rightly. I'm thinking on the right side of my brain. I'm thinking correctly. I'm thinking with that God part of my mind that says whatever I say is, whatever I say goes. Sin is the opposite. Sin is the error in mind, not thinking that way, not believing you are what you want, or you have what you want, or you can be what you want. It's an error in thought. And whether we are expressing error or whether we are wrong or right, that we get the outcome of that physically. The wrong and right is mental. That's experience. The outcome of that thought is physical expression. We're expressing what we're thinking. We're expressing what we're experiencing. Experience is always first. The expression is just reinforcing the experience. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you. There was a specific word that you used. I'm gonna play it back when this is posted. I'm gonna play it back because I want to write these quotes down and post them somewhere where I see them every day. So I'm more conscious, like on purpose, that these are my choices. Like whatever the outcome is, it was my decision. And then the other question, the last question is, you explained what I am is.
Mhm.
Could you explain that one more time, pretty please? Or who I am is, you know, it was the way you explained it that was really dope.
Today,
Yes.
I said that the way I explained it today.
You were just on a roll, you were doing you, and I might have to
Right.
replay the
Probably. But so, okay. I think I have an idea. So I think this is correct, but I'm not sure. But so in the book, it says God is the Lord God. It's the same. And when we say, and God's name in the book is I am. So when you pronounce yourself to be I am, you're essentially saying God is. So when God says, let there be light, when you say I am, you're saying I am is the same thing as God is. So now I am is first person present tense. So whatever you say, let there be, is the same thing as God says, let there be. So when you say I am sick, you are saying God is saying, let there be sickness. I am, I know I didn't go this far into it, but what my point is that I am, God and the Lord are the same thing. They're all you. They're just all explained differently, but they're all you. You are the Lord of your life, the overseer, the ruler of your life. Your awareness of being is your Lord. It is the ruler of your life. Your awareness of being is God. It is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, the author and the finisher of your experience and your expression. It is what is governing your life, your consciousness. I am. Your awareness of being. When you say I am, that is the prefix to saying what that is. I am what? You're saying the power that creates heaven and earth, that moves everything, that keeps the sun up, the stars shining, the beach current going back and forth, is proclaiming itself, is believing itself to be what? That is a choice. That is where your free will lies. It's not in your physical expression. It is in your mental experience by declaring and decreeing what you believe yourself to be. I am struggling. God said, let there be struggle. When God said, let there be light, and it went through all those verses all the way down in that first chapter, it created everything out of that. So when you say, let there be struggle, by saying, I am struggling, you're saying, let there be. Well, in all that and all those creative and all that creation in those verses, there was nothing or no one else to stop that or prevent that from being. So when you say, understand, when you say, I am struggling, you're not just keeping it real. You are actually keeping it real. You are keeping it as a real experience in your life. You have to learn to change it and to say, okay, I'm struggling. What do I want to be instead? There was darkness. That character, God did not say, oh, shoot, it's dark. Who's going to turn the lights on? There's no one else to turn the lights on. Just let everybody know. There's no one else to turn struggle into success but you. There was no one else to turn darkness and emptiness into light but that power. And you are that power. That is why the name of God in that book is I am. When Moses asked, I am that I am, that is my name unto all generations. People from the beginning of time have been saying it, and we're still saying it in 2023. Unto all generations. That thing you call God, you are pronouncing yourself to be every moment of every day, whether it is verbal or whether it is just a state of knowing. I am is the power that creates all things. And all physical things you see is the expression of that power. The only place you have free will, aka a choice, aka a decision, aka an opportunity, is here. That's it. It's not here. This is what you're going to use to do it. This is what, where, and what it is that you are going to do. This is an expression of this. This you can't see. This you can. But this, the invisible, is always dictating to the visible. Always. That's the order. That's the order. Once we understand that, and that's the whole reason we talk ad nauseum about this every weekend, and we encourage each other to live it daily, because it is, if you want to be successful in your life, it is a lifestyle. It's not a get out of jail free card. It's not the lottery. It's not magic. It's not some kind of process or theory. It is the ability to live life well by becoming aware of who you really are. Of who you really are. And the more of that you can remember and consistently remind yourself of, and the more often you do that, the more you will rejoice and be glad. Your rejoicing and your gladness are byproducts of your mind or its madness. If you are mad and insane, you are going to physically express that. If you are sane and peaceful, you're going to express that. There's nothing you see physically that was not first created mentally. That's the order of operations. There's no way around it. Every day you wake up and have the opportunity to decide, to declare, to decree what type of day you are going to have, what type of day this is, to remember and remind yourself why you created this day in the first place, and to have an understanding of the fact that you created this day and what did you create it for? To rejoice and be glad in it. To have a day that is reflective of rejoicing and gladness. Not gratitude. That's great to be grateful. That's separate conversation. I'm not saying it's less. I'm just saying separate for a second. You created this day not to be grateful. You created this day to rejoice and be glad. That means that's a thought. That means you should have physical expressions that reflect that thought. But you cannot if you're not thinking that. You cannot if you're not aware that you should think it. You cannot if you don't decide to do it. That's your free will. I am is the only free will you have. It's the only free will that exists, and it's the only free will you will ever need. Is the ability to choose whatever you attach to.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Whatever you are right now, whatever you're experiencing right now, is the result of your predominant thinking. What you are thinking, feeling, and believing to be true most often, most consistent. In order to live well, we have to become aware and mindful of not only what that is, but also change anything that is not conducive to our desired outcome. There are no good or bad thoughts. There are just good and bad outcomes, or just outcomes of those thoughts that we call good or bad. So all of the guilt and all of the regret and all of the things like that are not highest or higher level thinking. They are just coping mechanisms for outcomes, but they are reactive and not proactive. They are not creative. They don't change anything. And I want all of us here to understand not only the responsibility of our thought life, but the opportunity of it, and in it, and with it. That whatever you are willing to entertain or meditate on, meaning allow to sit in your mind and revolve around like a carousel at the airport, or something that you just allow to remain in your mind as a constant, consistent thought, is what is going to be pronounced and produced in your life. That is saying, let there be. It's not only verbal. It is what you are entertaining. It is your dominant set of thoughts and thinking. Most of which is why we have these calls, most of which is unconscious because it has become habit. So one of the first things that we must do in order to gain control of our mind, therefore our life, therefore our experience, and ultimately our expression, our lifestyle, the first thing we have to do is gain control of our thinking, become aware of it, and choose it. Just like when you go shopping in a grocery store. Choose the thoughts that you want to consume, and that will ultimately consume you. They will become a part of you. Every bit of food you eat goes into your bloodstream, and a certain part of it becomes a part of your body. Your body uses a certain part of that to reconstruct itself daily. The thoughts that you are thinking, your mind is using to guide you and lead you to its physical expression daily. So it is to our best benefit It is to think positively by choosing, by shopping, by choosing the thoughts, the feelings, and the beliefs that will allow us, that we will consume, that we will entertain, that we will allow to become a part of us in order to live well in health, in wealth, in relationships, in any and every area and aspect of life. There are no exceptions. The laws of mind do not have blackout dates. They don't have recessions or depressions. They don't give deals or discounts. They're not racist or sexist. They are, what does it say? The law, God is no respecter of persons. Our consciousness is no respecter of the body, of the persona, of the mask or character we play. It's only acting out the lines on the script. And the script is our thought, our feelings, and our emotions. That is what it's acting out. And if you want your persona, if you want your character or your actor to have a different role, you are going to have to give it different lines, different things to say, different things to think, different things to believe, so that it can therefore and then act different. It does not matter who you get to play a role as long as the lines are the same. Now, somebody may get real nice and sit. Somebody else just may be sit. Somebody may be real emotional. Some people may be a little less emotional. Some people may act out that role. Some people may be just super wealthy. Some people may just be wealthy in the sense of it. Some people may be a better actor at the outcome, but the outcome is still going to be the same. You're still going to recognize it as the lines. It's still going to be the same lines being read. Some people are just better actors. Some people are more pronounced. Some people are more skilled and savvy, but they're still reading the same lines. The laws of mind are no respecter of persons. They are not for you or against you any more than electricity. Electricity will light your house and light you. One of those are good, one of those are not. It's no respecter of persons. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It only does. But it only does according to the doer. So the doer is the one that has to know the rules. The personas, the people, the us, the name, the us, the characters, all of us. We have to know the rules. If we don't, in our ignorance, we will suffer. We will suffer. In our knowledge, we will succeed. One is not harder than the other, actually and technically. However, we've been conditioned to think one is. We've been conditioned to have a better understanding and a more consistent experience with the other. So that is why we are coming here to remind ourselves, remind each other, and remember, as well as unlearn some things that, however we picked them up, were not correct. And we must get rid of those. We must quarantine those because they do have an effect. They are taking up room in our closet. They are taking up RAM in our memory. They are a part of our life. And anything that's a part of our life, we do experience at one point or another. So we want to be mindful and aware of what it is that we are entertaining, including interacting with. Must understand. Sparkle, was the word perspicacious? Is that the word you said?
No, that was the word Miss Karen was curious about, but it was. My notes are like crazy right now. Like I'm literally like I'm all the way here.
Okay.
I think it was It was, okay, so what you said specifically was sin is error in thought expressed physically, and righteousness is in thought expressed physically. I just don't know what the word was for righteousness. I'm kind of winging, but this is recorded, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, okay, okay, just want to make sure. Okay, all right. Does anybody have any questions about what I just said? Questions, comments?
Coach, I left up, I'm like Sparkle, my notes all over the place too.
Yes.
It was right after you said the laws of your mind is no respecter of persons. And
Yes.
then you said something else to add to that, and I just missed that one.
Essentially, the laws of mind are no respecter of persons. They don't care what you think or how you think it or why you think it. The law only acts on what you plug into it, like electricity. Electricity doesn't care the socket doesn't care what you plug into it. If it's the right thing, it works. If it's not, it doesn't. It either works for you or works against you. So it is up to the doer to understand the law. It's up to the liver. It's up to us as the people who are living beings to understand the law of mind, the laws of mind, right? The universe is mental, all is mind. The law of correspondence, the law of duality, all the different laws of mind that just basically express that as we believe ourselves to be, so are we. That our collection of dominant thoughts and thinking is what we are first experiencing and then expressing. So those laws, whatever we pick and choose, is no respecter of persons. It doesn't care who's picking it, why you picked it, how you picked it, how long however you got to it. And if you plug it in, it will remain energized until you unplug it. And it is up to us as doers of the law to understand how the law works so that we're always able to use it properly. So that it's always being used on our behalf instead of against us. It's not against us, but if we misuse it, it feels like it. If we stick our hand in there, it'll feel like it. But it's not against us. But a lot of times the way we've been conditioned in life through all the different environments and people is to think something is out to get us, out against us, and things like that. I meant to say this last week, and now is actually a good time to say it. Health is natural. Disease is not. Disease is not real. The belief in disease is real. The belief in disease is what makes it real. It's not actually real itself. It's the belief in it that makes it real. The belief in everything makes it real, but our natural state is health. That's why no matter how sick we are or how whatever else it is, our body's always trying to fight back to the natural state. Our belief. So Giovanni, I think it was you, Giovanni, last week when you talked about being on an airplane. That was you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here's what I mean when I say that. There has never been any, whatever we want to call it, there's never been any counter power to the ultimate power, whatever we want to call that ultimate power. God, Allah, Buddha, Jesus, the universe, doesn't matter. There is no counter power. There's no counter power. So there is nothing or anyone to harm us but the belief in harm. The belief that there is a counter power. The belief in something else beside it. And just like it's not true, that our niece, our nephew, our son, our daughter didn't really beat us in chess or didn't really beat us in that race or in that little basketball one-on-one, but because of who we were, we could allow it. We can allow an alternative that wouldn't normally or naturally exist. Normally or naturally, they're never going to beat us until they get to the point where they can, right? But then there's nothing that can oppose them as they mature. The belief in the alternative is the only way it becomes possible. It's not a natural possibility. But we are the power that can allow it to be so. There is only peace. There's only joy. There's only love, which is what I am is. I am is love, right? There is only wealth, meaning more than enough. There is only safety. These are natural states. This is the natural state of that being who said, let there be light, which is us before we got into this body. This is the natural state. But because of the power we are that is now indwelled in this body called human or humanity as a whole, we have the free will to create its opposite. Chaos, stress, hate, poverty, insecurity. We are and have the ability to create its opposite. Though it's not natural or true, any of these things over here feel completely different than these over here on the left. But all of these are self-created. All of these are to be experienced. These are our natural state. Our natural state is health. That's why we feel so bad when we feel bad. When we're not feeling well, that's why it feels so bad. It's not a natural state. When we don't have enough of money or time or of whatever, it doesn't feel good because it's not a natural state. It is a possible state, but it's not natural. So what happens is we experience not what is natural and true, but what is possible, but it's only possible because of the belief in it. Disease is possible because of the belief in it. The chaos is possible because of the belief in it. Poverty is possible because of the belief in it. We have the choice, we have the ability to choose in humanity something opposite. But like we talked about in that car, we talked about last week in a car, only a baby gets in there and starts touching all the dials on a car. We could do the same, we just know better. Only a baby gets in there and rolls down the window after the car wash because it doesn't know better. It's not that we couldn't, we just know better. So the possibility is always there for all things. But as we think higher in mind, we start to eliminate and say, just because it's possible doesn't mean I should. Just because it's possible doesn't mean I really want to get down with that. But it's the belief in an alternative that makes it a part of our world. It's not that it's actually a part. It's not that it actually has to happen. It doesn't actually have to be. But our belief in its possibility is what allows it to become a part. It allows it to become a part. If we didn't have the belief in the opposite couldn't exist. All things can exist in the sense of impossibility, but only the right things exist in truth. We could always roll the window down after we wash the car, but we wouldn't do it. So it's possible, yes, but it wouldn't exist in our life. It wouldn't happen because we know better. Once we've come into humanity, we wiped out who we were at the beginning in order to make this feel real. But we knew over time, we would come back to ourselves. We would begin to remember at some point in time who we really are. And as we mature in that knowledge and understanding, we stop rolling the window down. We start putting the door locks on. We don't let the baby touch everything when we let it put them on our lap and they're little doing like this with the wheel. We don't let them touch everything because we understand that they're going to touch some things they shouldn't. But it's just because they don't know better. When we know better, it doesn't mean we eliminate possibilities, but we just don't include those possibilities. We're like, oh yeah, I understand that exists, but just not for me. So the belief that something could be different than our safety is just a belief. It's not actually the truth, but it will become true because we believe it. That thing that is not true needs our belief to become alive. And so it's our belief in the opposite that makes the opposite appear. Abracadabra. Right? As I say, let it be so. That's all it is. So once we wipe our mind up, yeah, no, this is it, and this is the only way it's going to be. I'm not going to roll this window down anymore after I wash my car. I'm not going to hit these windshield wipers when I'm pulling out of the car wash parking lot trying to hit the blinker. Some things we do just out of ignorance. Some things we just made a mistake. But we're just more aware as we mature in our mind, like, oh, let me make sure I don't roll the window down for a couple hours, or maybe not today. Or let me make sure I hit the blinker this time. Last time I hit the windshield wiper. Something just happened by mistake. But our belief in loss is what creates it. It's not actually there. Our belief is what creates it. It's what empowers it to become alive. And if we would become willing, and it takes time because we've been raised and conditioned. It's not insanity, it's not stupidity, it's just our conditioning. It's the way we've been raised as humanity, right? So it's as we mature in our mind, we learn to eliminate things and say, though it's possible because I can do anything, I choose not to roll the window down. I choose not to think that. I choose not to believe that. I choose not to entertain that. Because though I understand the possibility of it, I understand it cannot happen without me. Because it needs me for it to happen. It needs my power to become alive in my world, for it to become an actual thing. It can't exist without me. So then if I don't give it my attention, then we're not dating. Literally. So it's just a belief in the opposite that makes the opposite possible. And then because the opposite becomes possible, we think it's true, but we don't realize it's because of our belief that made it possible in the first place. These things on the left are natural states. They're natural states. That's why they feel good when you're in them. These are unnatural states. They're possibilities, but they're not natural. They're possibilities that as humans, we through our ignorance or through mistakes, collect them. We pick them up. But they need us in order to exist. They can't exist without us.
Coach Lucky, I thought, excuse me, my bad.
Yes, that's it. Yes, go ahead.
I'm motivated by what you're saying because for the longest, I thought it was something wrong with me. My grandmother was like my best friend. And when she transitioned, and notice I'm using the word transition, not she died, because in my mind, she never died. Like she's still here with me. She's with my children. She's with my whole family. But I thought for the longest, it's been about a year, and I thought for the longest that there was something wrong with me because according to everyone else, it's like, we have to grieve, we have to grieve. I've always celebrated her from her hospice stay till the time she transitioned. I celebrated what she accomplished. So I never felt like I lost her. I always celebrated, I just celebrated. I had every reason to celebrate her being in my life. So I've never had that down depression. I need to take time off, whatever. Like I just accepted she was in a different space, but she's still here with me. Her spirit never left. And so like I said, for the longest, I thought it was something wrong with me. Like maybe it's going to hit me later, the grief part, but I don't feel that. It doesn't feel natural. It just feels organic to just celebrate her and remember her as she was. So now that you're explaining this, like it's all in our choices of how we view it. I don't view, people transitioning as such, like we transitioned as babies, we transitioned from sperm and egg to physical to, then one day we get older. Some people don't make it to that age or whatever, but we transition to another space and it's not something to be afraid of. And that's the way I process life and death. I don't even like the term death, to be honest, because it's so negative, but I thought I was crazy, and I'm understanding now that it's not. It's just the way you think about something. It's not about, what you're taught.
That is why I say, at the highest level of thinking, there is no right or wrong or good or bad, really. There are just options and their outcomes. All things are possible. It's just a matter of whether we want to participate or not. And we decide to participate. Unfortunately, in humanity, we decide to participate in our ignorance and through mistake. So we get into things that we didn't know, we didn't realize, we didn't understand. And so that is why we have such a hard time enjoying things, because we're not truly, a lot of times we have not attained a level of mastery or understanding enough of something to participate in it in the ways we're trying to. Almost like I remember going to college. And you get on a college campus, and I think they have changed the rules now. But when I went to college, you go on college campuses, and all the credit card companies there, sitting around with their little tables out, right, and trying to get you to sign up for a credit card. because they know you haven't had one before, and they know if they can get to you before your parents get to you and tell you don't do it and things like that. You didn't have 2 or 3 credit cards, and they call you and you're like, they're like, where are you? Oh, I'm at the mall. With what? Oh, I got these new credit cards. They're like, oh my, what? Right? So a lot of times we physically participate in things we don't understand, or in things we don't have a proper concept or understanding of. So, and our ignorance or the mistakes we make are a result of that. So we have been conditioned to believe certain things about every aspect of life that isn't absolute or necessary or necessarily even beneficial, but we've been trained to say, when this happens, you should do this. When this happens, you should do this. When you fall off your bike, you should cry. When you fall off a skateboard, you should cry. But if you look at kids, a lot of times when they fall off, they look at you first and they're saying, what should I do? Right? And if you start crying and run over there, boy, like it's like an action movie, and run over there and hug them and pick them up, and then it doesn't mean you love them more than someone who doesn't. But a lot of times they take that cue of panic first from you, from us. So a lot of times we have been given information about how to deal with things in life, though well-intentioned and well-intended, it's actually not beneficial, number one. So then people just assume that they should do something, even if that's not maybe necessary for them. Everyone is different, but the point is that a lot of times we're just doing what we're told to do, regardless of how we feel or what we really think, number one. Number two, a lot of times all grief isn't equal. Some people are crying because the last time they saw this person alive, they cursed them out, right? Or because they had an unpleasant experience the last time they saw them, or they wish they could have saw them one more time. So all people crying aren't even crying for the same reason. Some people are crying tears of joy in the sense of just remembering how good something was with someone. So the point is, to your point, at the highest level of thought, things are just choices. It doesn't mean you're not emotional. It doesn't mean you're emotionless or you lack emotion. It means that you use your emotion like any other resource you have. You know when to use it and when not to. You know how to use it and when not to. You know how long to use it and when not to. You know when it's appropriate or when it's inappropriate, when it's valid or it's invalid. It isn't just something that just you give everywhere to everything just for an unlimited amount of time. And so since a lot of people don't have that understanding of A, themselves, B, their mind, C, their emotions or anything that they possess, how can you control something you don't know how? You don't know how it works. How can you, or that you're supposed to be the owner of it? It's my feelings, but I can't help myself. Well, if they're your feelings and you can't help yourself, how does this work out? Right? Nobody wants to be around somebody who can't control themselves, because everyone else realizes they can't do it either. They can't do it for them. So you just rather remove yourself from the person who can. So to your point, absolutely. It's not to say that you don't have emotion. It's not to say that you don't have memories. It's just to say that, to your point, that we have choices, and we have more choices than we're aware of, that we have more opportunities than we're aware of. And that if we are willing to actually sit back and reflect and start remembering, as we continue to remind each weekend, if we sit back and start remembering who we are, we realize that we are the power to do or be or have anything, to respond or choose or change anything. And so we become more empowered to express ourselves in ways that accurately reflect what we want to be, to do, to have, to be seen as, to be looked at, to be treated like. We have that power. We are not powerless, but we're so powerful, we can choose to be powerless. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
This is
Okay,
dope.
anything else?
Dope. This is really dope. Like the last thing you just said, this is dope. Like we are so powerful that we have the ability to choose to be powerless. These reminders are like, this is better than gold. Like when because you have the ability to have whatever you want, do whatever you want, be whatever you want. You just this is like oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just gonna sit in my moment, because this is, you just need these reminders sometimes. Like, oh my goodness, like why did I settle for less? I didn't know any better. Now it's like This is dope. I appreciate everybody here. And this is dope because this is like we're not alone. And I appreciate that. Like I've been swimming in the wrong ponds looking for this type of information and community and logic. And I just been, hoping that other people would vibrate and receive my vibrations, but I'm swimming in the wrong ponds. And it's not that they're bad people, it's just that they're not aware and they don't want to be aware. Everyone here wants to be aware. That's the difference. So this is it's refreshing. It's super refreshing. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else have anything to say before I'm gonna get into one last little topic? And then, but does anybody else have anything they'd like to say or ask or add?
It
I
just
have a question.
all reminded me of that famous quote by that famous man. If you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you can't.
Who was that? Ford? Who was it?
That was Ford.
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, but it was Ford before him, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was Ford. That's
Ford.
attributed to Ford.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We are the outcome of our thoughts and our beliefs. Absolutely. Somebody else was trying to say something too.
It was me. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask, how many natural laws really are there? Like
You.
one. That's it.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to step it down because I don't want people to feel like they're falling off a cliff.
Right.
Like it's got a Mission Impossible. They're like, wait a minute, what? And they're messed up for 3 weeks and then in some kind of comatose state. So I try to walk people into it so that it makes sense. But ultimately, yeah, one.
Okay.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different expressions of it, right? Like but it's one.
Right.
Just like water, you can heat it, cool it, boil it. You can do all kinds of things with it. It's still water, still only one substance that you can express in many different ways, but it's only.
And all of those different states only matter because you physically, your person can experience it, but it is the same thing. If there is no person, there's no other experience.
Correct. 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 So essentially, the law is you are what you believe yourself to be. What as a mind thinketh, so is it. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. According to your faith, be it unto you. It's 1,000 different ways to say the same thing, that you are who you believe yourself to be. And whatever that is what you are producing in expression. That is what you are. So the sun knows itself to be the sun, so it provides light and heat. The stars know itself to be something. So whatever we know ourselves to be, that is what we are experiencing firsthand and expressing outwardly. And so we are the only, because we are the highest creation of consciousness, we are the only level of consciousness that can operate as gods, meaning that we can change what we believe ourselves to be. The sun can't do that. The moon can't do that. The stars don't do that. The beach doesn't do that. We are the only ones that in living organisms that can actually change itself to say, I'm now going to be a doctor or a dancer. I am now going to be a this or that. We're the only creative living thing that can change its experiences or its expression.
I've been listening to the book you sent me, Freedom for All, Neville Goddard. Goddard, yes. And what you just said just resonates with something that is in the book, that, an oak tree doesn't strive to be anything other than an oak tree. It can be, the most beautiful, magnanimous oak tree, but it can't be anything else. So, we have the ability to choose it, and that is what differentiates us from all other things in nature.
And that's why an oak tree is perfect, because it only has one consciousness. It can't mess it up. Right. That's why we have the ability to be imperfect in human expression, in human form. In our truest sense, we're not. We're perfect in our true sense. But in this human form, we have the ability to be imperfect because we are given free will. And free will just means we are given the ability to think anything. Doesn't mean we should or we have to, but we have. That's what makes this experience physically feel so real, is because we can dress it up or mess it up. That's what makes it so awesome. So we are the only ones that can fulfill our potential and not fulfill our potential, because we have the choice to not. An oak tree doesn't. No other.
Why infants are perfect, because they've made no decisions yet. No thoughts.
Right. That's why everybody loves them generally. Even if they're not, even if you don't want to have kids, even if you don't have kids, nobody's mad at a baby. It's just tough. Right? If you just mad at a baby just because, it's like, man, you need to go home and come back. Or something just like, you just, what, it's like, what are you mad at him? Right? So that's why, because we see it's kind of a reminder of perfection. It's a reminder of really that baby we look at, we're like, wow, but that was us. Somebody was looking at us like that. And look how quickly we forget. We forget that somebody else thought we were perfect. We forget that we were perfect in that sense. And we start to believe we were something else. And that's why we end up as all these other things, whether it's a millionaire, or whether it's sick, or whether it's a hot mess, or whether it's whatever else it is. Right. So it's the ability to be anything, truly famous or infamous. Right. All right. Anything?
What was the name of the book
anybody else
again,
have any? Yes.
What was the name of the book again?
Oh, Freedom for All by Neville
Okay.
Goddard. Freedom for All. If you look on like Google and just put in Freedom for All, like free PDF, you can get a free PDF of it online. That's my favorite teacher, is Neville Goddard. Him, Dr. Joseph Murphy, and Rev Ike. And like I told you, if I could meet with anybody, it'd be Abdullah, because that was a cold cat. He was on his G all the way. So I liked his boldness and his just understanding of the law and understanding of himself, to the point that he could do things that people wouldn't dare do, and do them effortlessly, easily, positively. And it was just amazing. And he lets me know what is possible. And further, obviously, because he's not perfect, but just gives me something to say, okay, I can do that. Let me try to climb that mountain. Then I can find somebody else. Let me try to climb that mountain. Just something to aspire to realize that it's in us all. And that's why I said our beliefs, whether they're limited or unlimited, is primarily and predominantly from our own, what we've taken in ourselves and who we're around. And so when we start to change what we think and largely who we're around, as far as what ideas we're accepting, our lives will change, because our lives are being expressed and so-called limited based on where we are. Just like you can be a millionaire in Florida, but you can still only do what's in Florida as long as you're in Florida. How much money you have has nothing to do with it. There's nobody importing any snow over there. It's just not going to work. So if you want to have snow, if you want something else, doesn't matter how successful you are here. If you wanted something else, you may have to go to another state, another place, another state of mind. So that's what we're always talking about here, is learning that our struggle is not physical. It's expressed physically. Our struggle is mental, meaning when we feel stuck, it's mental. It's not physical. It's expressed physically. And the good thing about the body is that it will, like a mirror, it will reflect. It will show you what you're wearing. It will show you what you're thinking and believing. And so as you get those reflections, as you see your life, you get a chance to look at it and say, oh, I want to change that. It's dark over here. Let me turn on the light. Let there be. Oh man, I'm not feeling too well. Let me turn on the light. Let there be. That's why in a lot of metaphysical circles, light is metaphor for truth. Turn on the light, right? That's why in old, as they say, okay, let me write this. GEEZUS. Anybody know what that word means? It's pronounced the same as the dude in the Bible, Jesus. But does that, anybody know what this is? A Native American word spelled this way. Does anybody know what it means?
No.
And I feel bad that I only know it because of Kanye.
I was gonna say this is a hood.
Jesus, that's it. I like it.
This is the hood
That's
way
it.
of expressing Jesus when you try. Yeah, like this is a hood way of spelling Jesus when you're trying to express yourself.
Right? This is actually a Native American word, what they would call Native American.
I was today years old. Thank you, Coach.
Right? Right? This word, and old Native American, this word means son. That's what this word means. Everything is revolving around that. All life comes from that. Sustained by it, created by it, it's made, everything comes from it. That's that word. All right, last thing. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Joyce. Let's just say gladness. All right. How many of us do things on a regular basis that promote or that reflect these things? On a regular basis. I'm not talking about going to Disneyland once a month. I'm not talking about having your spa day once a month. I'm asking, how many of us do things on a daily basis that express, that make us, that are a reflection of our rejoicing? Right? To do again. Rejoice. We already had joy. Remember, that was a natural expression. Gladness. How many of us do something on a daily basis that is a reflection of this state of mind, of this sentiment?
I do.
Someone asked me the other day, how do you do what you love? How do you start doing what you love? My answer was, a little bit at a time. Start with a little bit at a time. Maybe you like golf, and maybe you can only go once a month. Go in your backyard and just swing the golf stick. Hit it 2 feet. Go in the driveway and get a cup and punt it 2 feet. Just start. Social media is designed to do what? One thing. What is it designed to do?
Keep you coming back.
Say it again.
Keep you coming back.
Who is you?
Connect people.
Okay. It is designed to keep you coming back. Who is you?
The consumer.
Okay. And who is the consumer?
I am. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I am in action is what?
Y'all help me out.
Yeah, that's correct. I am in action is what? It's designed to keep I am coming back. What is the I am? What part of I am? What I am is it trying to get?
Your it wants control of your mind.
Of your mind. Your attention.
Good job, Sparkle.
Girl,
Your attention. That is right. That is what we do here, right? Is learn how to think in order to live well. When you start breaking things down, you start to see simply what's happening. You start realizing, wait a minute. You start having these aha moments of, it's designed, social media is designed to get your attention. I'm not saying what for. It's for, depending on what it is they're trying to get your attention for, to pay attention to this or pay attention to that, but it doesn't matter what the outcome of your attention is. It first needs your attention because your attention is you. It is you in action. When you turn, like it's like having a tank. It's like, oh, okay. But when you see that arm move and you're like, oh, shoot, it's real now. When you see the little thing on the top move, you're like, oh, something's getting ready to happen. It's the same thing. Yeah, you're just you. But now when someone gets your attention, now something's getting ready to happen. You respond or you say something or you do something or you turn your head, but now they have you. Your attention is you in action. That's what they're designed. That's what social media is first designed to do, is get your attention, to keep it and to hold it for as long as possible, because then they have you. It doesn't matter where you are, at home, in the bathroom, on the couch, watching TV, doesn't matter where, in the car, doesn't matter. As long as your head is in that thing, right? Whether it's your virtual reality glasses, whether it is your tablet, your phone, your TV, is designed to get your attention. What I'm saying to you here is, how many of us do something every day that we place our attention on so that we can get more of this? I want you to place your attention on things that physically reflect that. And the more you do it, the more of this you will see. The more you place your attention on anything, the more of it you will see. Because that is the you, that is the power in action. That is why most things and most people are always fighting for your attention. Because that's you. And whomever gets your attention the most, or whomever you give your attention to the most, is what is going to be largely or mostly reflected in your life. That is what you're going to have the strongest relationship with, whether it's good or bad, so to speak. That is what is going to be most prevalent in your life, is whatever and whomever you place has your attention, or wherever you place it. This is the day that we've made to be glad in, but how many things do we do that reflect it? We're going to wait to have a good time tomorrow. We're going to wait to laugh tomorrow. We're going to wait to hug somebody tomorrow. We're going to wait to love somebody tomorrow. We're going to wait to do all the physical things that are a reflection of this state of mind. But the reason is because we don't wake up with the expectation in this mind. We don't wake up in our mind with the expectation of these three things being for me today. And just like doing something you love, how do you do something you love? Whether it's just playing golf or whether it's a business that you want. I want to do what I love. I love to do what I'm doing with you guys. I want to do what I love. I want to have my own bakery, or I want to have my own this, or I want to have my own that. How do I start? A little at a time. Just start turning your attention to it more frequently. You want to have a bakery? Bake one person a cake a day. And make it a small cake. Make it something you can do, but just start. And what you're going to start to realize is the more frequently that you place your attention on something, the more of it you're going to see. The more time you make for it, the more time it will make for you. Anybody write that down? Catch it. Catch it. Catch it. Catch the wave on that one. Catch it. The more time you make for something, the more time it will make for you. It'll start calling you up. It'll start waking you up. That thought, that idea, that dream, that vision, it will start to increase and expand in your life. It will start to make room for itself. You want to be well received and well loved and well thought of. But what does it say? Your gift will make room for you. and will set you before kings. We have gifts inside of us that we're not even using. But today is enough. You have so many skills and things in you that you'll, when something's happening to, you've seen mothers can't pick up cars. Let their kid get trapped up under there. They'll pick it up like they're the Incredible Hulk. People can't pick up cars. Let something happen to their mother, to a kid, and their mom's there, and they're gonna pick up that car, boy, like some kind of weightlifter. One hand and everything, and pull them out with the other hand. What does it say? Necessity is the mother of invention. A lot of times we don't use everything in us because there's never any reason for it. We don't give ourselves a reason to be great. We're not doing nothing great. We're not aspiring to anything great. We're not doing anything that brings us any joy or gladness. It's one day a month, we're going to Disneyland. One day a month, we're going to the spa. Okay, even if you can't go to the spa, but one day a month, you can go every day. Wash your face with something nice that makes you feel good. Start turning your attention to what you want. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be this big Armageddon, cataclysmic, huge thing. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule. Right? Wash your face with something nice. My favorite thing is to go out to eat. Okay, take yourself out and just stop by a bakery, stop by a restaurant and just get you a nice little salad. You don't have to break the bank. You don't have to do anything huge and Herculean all the time. But the more you turn your attention to it and the more you engage your attention, then now you're, like we talked about earlier, your reticular activation system starts to kick in and starts to say, wait a minute, this is what we're doing now? Okay, well, look, there's something over here, right? This person's over here, right? You do know this thing is over here, right? Because now you're giving it instruction. You're telling it, I want to do more of this. I want to have more of this. And if you just are willing to start a little bit, you'll start to see not only will it expand, but it'll start to expand quickly. It will start to compound. It'll start to compound. That's why Albert Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. When you stack something on top of something, on top of something, on top of something, on top of something, it blows up quick. When you turn your attention to things that make you happy more often and more consistently, I don't care if it's for 5 seconds at a time. That 5 will become 6, that 6 will become 8, that 8 will become 12, that 12 will become 13, then it'll become 14, that 14 will become 19. And before you look it up, you're doing something that makes you happy an hour. Then 3 weeks later, it's an hour and 27 minutes. And you'll look up and say, how did I ever create all this time? Because you didn't create it all at once. But you turned your attention to it every day. And your attention, whatever you focus on, expands. It's good to say you should rejoice in this day and that you made it and you should be glad in it because that's what you made it for. But if you're not doing anything that reflects that, then how can you rejoice? What's there to be happy about? There isn't. What effort are you putting into making yourself happy? To doing things that reflect your happiness? Can't give what you don't have. And if you're a miserable old person walking around, nobody want to be bothered with you. I'd be miserable too if I didn't ever do anything I wanted, I liked, I valued, I appreciated, that excited me and turned me on and thrilled me. What's there to be happy about? So I want to say that to you all, right? Turn your attention to rejoicing and gladness. Wake up every day and say, this is my expectation, to rejoice and be glad. Things are going to happen to me today that are a reflection of my rejoicing and my gladness. And come hell or high water, it's going to happen to me today. Something's going to happen. Something, whatever it is going to happen today. Because I turn my attention to it. And I'm living with the expectation that it's so. And you'll start to see that your attention will provide you with experiences and opportunities that reflect your rejoicing and your gladness, what you turned it to. All right. Little at a time. Little at a time. Start with 5 seconds. Start with 10 seconds. Start with a minute. Start with a cup of tea. Start with some cold water on your face and one little mask. Start with, doesn't matter how you start. Swing the golf club in the driveway. Doesn't matter how you start, just start. Your attention, when you focus it, will expand it. Start your business. Sell one sock. One pair of socks. Sell a t-shirt. turn your attention to it. It will expand it. All right. 9:03. I want to be conscious of time. Let everybody get out of here on time. Any questions or anything anyone wanted to say before we get
Thank
up out of here and
you.
have a day that we are rejoicing and glad in?
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Always. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate you, Coach Lucky.
Always. Great to hear from you, Giovanni. Always.
Yes,
are
it's like a
fine.
gift that keeps on giving. Just show up on Saturday morning.
Yes, thank you all for coming. I can't tell you always how honored and grateful I am to all of you for showing up, for us being able to come together and reason and talk. And even though I'm talking the most, I'm listening and I'm with you, not above you, not under you, right with you. So I appreciate you all and thank you all every week for coming. It's my honor and pleasure to be a part of our growth.
You give us
Appreciate you,
something
Coach
to
Lucky.
rejoice in.
Justin, good to see you, brother. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Amen.
I said, you give us something to rejoice in today on Saturday.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So I expect that's the homework. That's the homework. Let's get 7 days. 7 days. Just wake up with the expectation. Don't let your senses tell you because it's dark or because it's cold or because a bill needs to be paid or because you got to do a lot of work today. Don't let your senses dictate to you what you expect and assume. Don't let that happen. You choose, you say, you declare, you decree, you say, let there be. And you will start to see that darkness will turn into light, that your attention will guide you right to your thing, right? You have all the power. So I want you to use it. Act like you know it. 7 days, you wake up with expectation. I'm waking up. I don't care what it looks like, feels like, sounds like, where I'm waking up. I will rejoice and be glad in it today. And that is my expectation. Today is enough. You don't need 10 days. You need today. Master today. Whatever thought you need to be loyal to today, to say, I am going to rejoice and be glad in it, be loyal to that thought just for today. You don't have to be loyal to it tomorrow, the next day, find a new thought or the same thought, whatever allows you to win today. And you stay loyal and faithful to it to a whole day. And then you wake up with a new one or the same one if it'll get you through that day. But you wake up with an expectation of victory, success, and all good things for you. So I'm gonna let you go because it'll be 10 o'clock and I'll be running my mouth. But I appreciate you all. Thank you all. Have a wonderful week. 7 days of rejoicing and gladness. And we'll get up and circle back next Saturday and we'll hear a lot and share a lot of good news.
Thank you, Coach.
See
Thanks,
you guys
Coach.
later. Yes, sir. Have a good one. Have a good one. Peace.